January 27th, New York City, the stock market opens. And within minutes, one of the most valuable companies on the planet begins to collapse. Not because of a bad product, not because of a scandal, not because of a lawsuit, because two unknown engineers in China, working quietly without the world's best chips, had just released a piece of software that made the entire AI industry question everything it believed. In a single trading day, $590 billion vanished from one company's market value. $590 billion. In one day, the largest single-day stock loss in the history of the financial markets. That company was Nvidia, and the man watching it happen, the man who had spent 32 years building it from a Denny's restaurant booth with $600, was Jensen Huang, the same man who had already cheated death 3 times. This is the story of Nvidia, how a chip company that almost went bankrupt not once, not twice, but 3 separate times, ended up controlling the most important resource in the world, and how even after losing nearly $600 billion in a single morning, they still came back.
1993, San Jose, California. 3 engineers keep meeting at a Denny's diner, not because they love the food, but because it's quieter than home and the coffee is cheap. Their names are Jensen Huang, Chris Malachowski, and Curtis Preem. Jensen, born in Taiwan, raised partly in Kentucky, has been working at semiconductor companies since his early 20s. He's 30 years old. He has one vision, that the future of computing will be built around graphics processors. Not the standard chips that run your computer. A new kind of chip, a GPU, built to handle 3-dimensional graphics at a speed no one has achieved yet. The 3 of them pool their resources. Total starting capital, $600. Jensen finds a lawyer to formally incorporate the company and pays him with every dollar in his wallet. They name it Nvidia, from the Latin word for envy, because Jensen wants competitors to turn green with it. They are not wrong about the market. They are very wrong about almost everything else.
By 1995, Nvidia had released its first chip. They call it the NV1. It's impressive on paper. It handles 2-dimensional and 3-dimensional graphics. It even processes audio. But there's a problem, a fatal one. The entire industry is moving to a new graphics standard called Direct3D, created by Microsoft. And the NV1 is built on the wrong architecture. It uses a system called quad-based rendering. Microsoft's standard uses triangles. It is the wrong bet, and almost nobody buys it. But then something unexpected happens. Sega, the Japanese gaming giant behind Virtua Fighter and Daytona Racing, is building a brand new console. They need a graphics chip, and they see something in Nvidia's concept. They offer Nvidia a contract, $7 million to develop the NV2, a chip that will power Sega's next-generation console. For a company barely surviving, this is everything. Nvidia pours 18 months of work into the NV2, and then Jensen Huang looks at what his team has built and realizes they have made the same mistake again. They're still using the wrong architecture. Microsoft is about to make quad-based rendering completely obsolete. If they deliver this chip to Sega, Nvidia will have spent 2 years on a dead end. The gaming market will leave them behind. They will die slowly. If they don't deliver, they break the contract. They lose the payment. They go bankrupt immediately. Jensen would later describe the moment, finish the project and die later, or walk away and die right now. He chose a third option. He booked a flight to Tokyo. He walked into the office of Sega's CEO, Shoichiro Irimajiri, and he told the truth. The chip is wrong. The architecture is a dead end. You should find another partner. And then, in perhaps the most audacious business request in Silicon Valley history, he asked Sega to still pay Nvidia in full, or the company would go bankrupt next week. The room froze. Irimajiri could have thrown him out. He could have sued. He could have watched Nvidia collapse. Instead, he agreed. He respected the honesty. Sega converted their remaining funds into a $5 million investment in Nvidia. That money bought Nvidia 6 months. 6 months to reinvent themselves completely. They laid off over 70% of their workforce. They threw out everything they had built. They rebuilt their entire architecture from scratch, this time aligned with Microsoft's Direct3D standard. And in 9 months, a timeline that should have taken 2 years, they shipped the Riviera 128, a 128-bit graphics chip, 4 times faster than any competitor, and it sold 1 million units in its first 4 months. Nvidia was alive, barely, but alive. The late 1990s belonged to Nvidia. In 1999, they launched the GeForce 256, the world's first chip to officially carry the name GPU, Graphics Processing Unit. Jensen coined the term himself. PC gaming explodes. Every serious gamer needs a GeForce card, and Nvidia dominates the market so completely that competitors start panicking. Intel, the most powerful chip company in the world at the time, decides to build their own GPU to crush Nvidia. They call it Larrabee. They pour billions into it. It never ships. Intel cancels it quietly. Then AMD tries to acquire Nvidia outright. Jensen refuses. Unless he gets to remain CEO, the deal collapses. At one point, Nvidia signs a deal with Microsoft to build the graphics chip inside the original Xbox. This is a near-death experience of a different kind. The margins are brutally low, and it nearly drags their financials underwater. But through all of it, Jensen keeps building, keeps investing, keeps thinking beyond gaming. Because in 2006, Jensen Huang makes a decision that nobody understands. A decision that Wall Street ignores for the next 10 years. A decision that will eventually make Nvidia the most important company on Earth. 2006. Nvidia is a gaming chip company. That's what the world sees. That's what Wall Street values. But Jensen Huang is seeing something different. He is noticing that researchers, physicists, biologists, scientists at universities are buying their GeForce gaming cards, not to play games, to run scientific calculations. Because the GPU, it turns out, is extraordinarily good at running thousands of calculations simultaneously, far better than the standard CPU chip. Jensen decides to make that capability accessible to every developer in the world. He invests hundreds of millions of dollars into building a software platform called CUDA, Compute Unified Device Architecture, a system that allows anyone to program Nvidia's GPUs for any kind of parallel computing task, not just graphics. Wall Street sees this and values CUDA at essentially zero. Analysts ask why a gaming chip company is wasting money on software that scientists might use. The stock reflects their skepticism. For 10 years, Wall Street is right and wrong. CUDA grows quietly. Researchers adopt it. AI labs begin using it to train early neural networks. And then, in 2012, something happens that changes everything. A team of researchers at the University of Toronto uses Nvidia's CUDA platform to train a neural network called AlexNet. It beats every other AI system in the world at recognizing images by a margin so large that the entire AI research community stops and stares. The AI revolution has a new engine, and that engine runs on Nvidia chips. Jensen had waited 10 years for this moment. He had invested in it when nobody believed. He had built the infrastructure before the demand existed. The second near-death experience wasn't a crisis. It was the opposite. It was a decade of being misunderstood, of being underestimated, of investing in silence while the world ignored you. It paid off beyond anything anyone had predicted. 2023. ChatGPT has just broken the internet. Suddenly, every technology company on Earth needs to train massive AI models. And to train those models, they need one thing above everything else: computing power. And computing power means Nvidia GPU. The H100, Nvidia's flagship AI chip, becomes the most sought-after product in the world, more valuable in some markets than gold. Companies are paying $50,000 to $100,000 per chip. And they still can't get enough. Microsoft, Google, Amazon, Meta, Tesla. Every single one of the most powerful technology companies on Earth is lined up, waiting, asking Jensen Huang for more chips. The company that almost went bankrupt in 1996 now has an 80% share of the global AI chip market. In some segments, training the largest AI models, Their market share is closer to 98%. Nvidia's annual revenue in 2023, $26 billion. In 2024, the very next year, it hits $60 billion. Then, in fiscal year 2025, it reaches $130 billion. 114% growth in a single year. In October 2025, Nvidia becomes the first public company in human history to reach a market capitalization of $5 trillion. $5 trillion. From $600 at a Denny's booth. Jensen Huang becomes a celebrity, not just in Silicon Valley, but globally. In Taiwan, fans follow him through the streets. Mark Zuckerberg posts a photo of them together wearing each other's signature jackets and writes, "He's like Taylor Swift, but for tech." The man who once begged Sega's CEO not to let his company die is now the man that every CEO on Earth is begging for chips. And then comes January 27, 2025. A Chinese AI lab called DeepSeek, spun out of a hedge fund, quietly releases a new AI model. The world's AI community downloads it, tests it, and the results are staggering. DeepSeek's model matches, and in some tests beats, the best AI models from OpenAI, Google, and Meta. But here is the part that breaks Wall Street's brain. DeepSeek claims their final training run cost approximately $5.6 million. The equivalent models from American companies cost hundreds of millions, and DeepSeek achieved it without Nvidia's most powerful chips, using older, restricted hardware instead. The logic investors had built the entire AI boom on, that AI progress requires unlimited amounts of ever more expensive Nvidia chips, suddenly looks fragile. Within hours, Nvidia's stock dropped 16.9%, $590 billion, gone, in a single day, the largest single-day market capitalization loss in history. Journalists declare that Nvidia is finished, that the AI chip war is over before it really started, that DeepSeek has broken the model, and Jensen Huang says nothing, for days. When he finally speaks, in a recorded interview, he is calm, almost amused. He says the market misunderstood what DeepSeek means. Cheaper AI does not mean less demand for chips. It means more people can afford to use AI. More companies will deploy it. More applications will be built. The total demand for computing power will not shrink. It will explode. Jensen calls this Jevons paradox. When something becomes more efficient, people consume far more of it, not less. He is right. Again, by the end of 2025, demand for Nvidia chips has not fallen. It has continued to accelerate. Microsoft, Google, and Amazon have all doubled their AI infrastructure spending. Nvidia's revenue for the year exceeds every forecast. The third near-death moment, like the first two, turns out not to be the end. It turns out to be another chapter.
Jensen Huang still works 7 days a week. He checks emails from 4 in the morning. He has not taken a single day off in 32 years. When reporters ask him why, now that he runs a $5 trillion company, he still operates like a man who might go bankrupt at any moment. His answer is always the same. He says, "I've used the phrase 30 days from going out of business for 33 years. The feeling doesn't change. The sense of vulnerability, the sense of uncertainty, the sense of insecurity, it doesn't leave you." He is not saying this to seem humble. He means it. Because Jensen Huang has seen what happens when you stop feeling that fear. He has seen companies that became comfortable, that stopped investing in the uncertain future, that stopped making bets nobody else believed in. He watched them disappear. Sega, the company that saved Nvidia with a $5 million lifeline in 1996, exited the console hardware business entirely just 5 years later. If they had held their Nvidia investment instead of cashing out, it would be worth over $1 trillion today. Intel, the company that tried and failed to crush Nvidia with their Larrabee GPU, spent years dismissing AI chips as a niche market. Today, they are fighting for relevance in a world that Nvidia built. The lesson of Nvidia is not about chips. It's not about AI. It's not even about money. It's about what happens when you keep making bets that nobody believes in.
And you're right, a $600 company at a Denny's booth. 3 near-death experiences that should have ended everything. 10 years of building something the market valued at 0. And then, a $5 trillion empire. That's Nvidia. That's the story. If you want the next empire story, subscribe. Because there are dozens more where this came from, and none of them end the way you'd expect.